Hello, and this is June of 2024, and this is my project on the San Joaquin Kit Fox for Project California. And the slideshow is essentially just going to be an introduction to the species of the kit fox. It's an endangered species that is from San Joaquin, obviously. So these are going to be the contents. First, I'm going to put an introduction to the species, scientific and common name, then a physical description and habitat description, of evolutionary history and adaptations, the ecological role, why it's important, threats of survival and conservation efforts, current status, and why protecting the species matters, all which are outlined in the syllabus for this assignment. And these are all important parts that I'm going to include just to spread awareness on what's going on with this specific endangered animal. So this is slide 1, introduction to the species, the common and scientific names. So of course the San Joaquin kit fox, it's the smallest and rarest native animals because it's only in certain valleys that I will get into in later slides, but it's basically a small creature. It's known for having a small body structure, as you can probably see in the picture below. So its scientific name is Vulpes migratis moictica, and it's basically a subspecies of the kit fox. So although it technically could crossbreed with a regular kit fox, it is distinct enough to be its own subspecies. And it's found in desert regions across the southwest of the United States. However, it can only live in Central California. What I mean by that is that the kit fox is found throughout Southern California, but the San Joaquin kit fox only lives in Central California, the subspecies. This next slide is about the physical description and habitat specific to California, because this specific subspecies only lives in California, but it's not really a subspecies, it is its own species. The fox is small, it weighs from 4 to 6 pounds, so I usually just say it weighs around 5 pounds. It's about 20 inches long, it has big ears, it has a grayish, yellowish fur, and it has a black tip on its tail. It has large ears, which basically they use it to cool down, and they also use them to hear because they hunt small prey underground, so they need big ears to be able to hear where their prey is at. And then their color is just so that it can blend in. As you can see below, I put a picture of what their environment might look like, so that fur color would blend in with that type of environment well. Now this next slide is about how did this fox evolve. So as you can see on the top, I put some photos of other kit foxes. They have different color schemes. They look a bit different. Like the one on the top left is more of a reddish gray color. The one on the top right is more of a silvery color. And then the San Joaquin kit fox, I guess the photo that I put shows them as cubs, but as you can see, their color is somewhere in the middle, and it's just more of a distinct color pattern, and it's also genetically distinct, so that's why it is known as it is another species, and it's different enough to be classified as a subspecies, but it's technically it can also technically breed with the other kit foxes, but it's its own subspecies because it is genetically different enough and lives in a cutoff region from other kit foxes. Next, I'm talking about the role that these foxes have on the environment. So I put the foxes, some of the food that they're eating. The one on the bottom is eating a hummingbird. The one on the top appears to be eating some sort of rat or squirrel, which is their full diet. The fox is very small, but it's also a predator, and it controls the populations of rodents and insects, and sometimes it does kill birds, as you can see. So it almost reminds me of how cats can also control certain populations of pests. Their dens are usually used by other animals as well, so that is another ecological role, because when they grow out of the dens, other animals use them, and it helps. And some of the animals that may use their old dens are ground squirrels, snakes, and burrowing owls, and those are some of my sources. And the fox isn't just important because of its own survival. It's important because it helps other species survive in its own survival. Like trying to survive itself, it actually contributes to other species surviving. And it's also mentioned earlier, it does help keep the ecosystem diversified. This next slide is basically just important reasons. Like, why is this fox important to biodiversity? The idea is the kit fox is a part of a larger network. So although it's a predator, I don't know if, like, basically the idea is that it affects every other animal. Like the squirrels, it needs to eat squirrels and smaller animals so that the population of bugs can be under control. So it's really all connected. And then also, losing this species could lead to negative changes for other species in the area because of what I just mentioned. It helps in basically just having a diverse group of animals is just in general always going to be pretty helpful for an environment, and getting rid of a species entirely will always have negative consequences. These are the threats to survival because, of course, since the species is endangered, there are a lot of threats and there are a lot of negative things that are going on with the environment that these animals are living in. The main threat is obviously habitat loss, because the grasslands are being taken over by people who are living in these environments, and because of like farmland being built, they have to kill all the animals who live on that land. And housing, it makes the foxes not have a home anymore because they get taken out, they get killed, etc. They're also natural predators of this animal, including coyotes, bobcats, and large birds of prey. But these threats have always existed. They are pretty much more dangerous when the foxes are alert and they're in stress and they're going through these things like habitat loss, because they're getting over habitat loss and at the same time having to hide their young from predators. It does make them more susceptible to being killed by predators. Lastly, there's something called mange. It's a disease, and the urban populations of Bakersfield, which is one of the places that they live, have been hit with sclerotic mange and canine distemper, which is it's a very bad disease. It will be shown on one of the slides. However, it's a disease that's been killing them. And then one of the last couple slides will be conservation efforts and the current status. Obviously, with most endangered species, there is some sort of conservation efforts going on, and it's of course protected under law. It has been protected over law for years, and since 1967, so it's been protected for years. However, these laws aren't really doing much. These laws have they've helped, but they haven't helped that much because they're not people ignore the laws, and it's just not 100% going to stop the killing of these foxes. And this fox has been endangered for years under the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and it's been put as threatened under the California law. Some protected populations are stable, but overall the population is still declining. Disease outbreaks and ongoing habitat loss are making the population recovery very difficult. And then also something called the bottlenose effect could begin to happen if the species had to have been recovered from just a small sample of animals. So they want as many of these foxes alive as possible. But why is protecting this species important? Well, because protecting this species, I have explained some of this, but protecting this species is protecting biodiversity. It's also protecting other species in the sense that since they're all connected, getting rid of one link is always not going to be good. Now, what the slide says is that protecting kit foxes is protecting the last remnants of the native grasslands in the San Joaquin Valley. These areas support many other species, so of course some of the species that are there as well are endangered as well. So killing one endangered species could result in the deaths of other ones, especially because California's biodiversity has been struggling for quite some time. And these are the references that I used in this slideshow.